Hey guys! Tonight you find yourself waking beneath a wool blanket in a narrow lodging where cold stone presses the night into the room, damp straw rustles under the bed frame, and smoke from a dying brazier hangs among soot-dark rafters. Somewhere beyond the shutters, distant bells tremble through river mist, boots grind mud across the courtyard, and a tethered horse breathes white clouds into the winter air. Torchlight wavers beneath the door, making every iron hinge look slightly more important than it probably is. Medieval travel brochures really oversold this experience. The blanket scratches the floor is freezing, and you probably would not last a week out here without complaining about the bread, the smell, or the complete lack of reliable plumbing. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while the fire settles, you can comment where you are listening from and what the local time is there, wherever the quiet hour has found you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push aside the blanket and sit with your hands beneath your arms, waiting for feeling to return to your fingers. The lodging is still dark. A half-burned candle leans in a clay holder near the wall. The dog beside the hearth opens one eye, judges your decision to rise before sunrise, and closes it again. He has mastered the wiser schedule. Outside, the city gathers itself slowly. The sky above the tiled roofs is pale and uncertain. A cart creaks along the lane, one wheel knocking as though it has a grievance against the road. Water drips from eaves. Nearby, a woman shakes a woven mat from an upstairs window, sending dust into the damp air. You step through it with poor timing and receive the first blessing of the day directly in the face. Your boots sink into the mud between paving stones. The street smells of wet wool, wood smoke, old wine, and the sharp mineral scent of the river. Traders move toward the market quarter carrying baskets of onions, jars of oil firewood, and loaves wrapped in cloth. A baker's boy hurries by with flour on his sleeves. Two geese argue beside a drain with the confidence of minor officials. You follow the broadening street toward the public baths. At first, the building is only a deeper shadow beyond the roofs. Then the mist thins and columns appear, followed by a wide entrance arch stained by rain and smoke. The bathhouse is larger than the houses around it, less like a place to wash than a palace built for steam. From behind its walls comes the clatter of wood being stacked and the low voices of workers preparing the furnaces. The city is not fully awake, yet the bathhouse already breathes. You pause near a roadside shrine where a small lamp burns before a weathered protective figure. Someone has left dried figs, a bent bronze pin, and a twist of wool. Some swear that women touch the shrine before entering to guard against envy, theft, or an unfortunate encounter with a person who talks without stopping. No one can quite agree whether the custom is sacred or simply sensible preparation for a crowded morning. Near the entrance, servants sweep yesterday's dust into piles that the wind immediately begins redistributing. A porter splashes water across the stones. Another man drags in wood for the furnace shoulders bent beneath the weight. The comfort promised by warm pools begins as most comforts do with someone else carrying something heavy. You move closer and hear the hidden machinery of the place. Beneath the floor's fire will warm channels of air. Water will pass through pipes and basins, doors will open and close, sandals will slap against stone, attendants will call out, and the quiet building will fill with conversation. For now the sounds remain muffled as if the bathhouse is speaking in its sleep. Women begin arriving in twos and threes. One comes wrapped in a dark cloak with a servant carrying a basket behind her. Another walks with her mother, both speaking softly beneath their veils. A merchant's wife steps around a puddle and fails, lifting the edge of her tunic with a sigh. A younger woman laughs behind her hand. Their cloaks are thick, their faces still touched by the chill. There is little haste. The visit is not merely a quick washing before work. It is an outing, a ritual, a meeting place, and sometimes a test of patience. The women greet acquaintances near the arch. They exchange news about households, prices, fevers, weddings, and servants who vanish at exactly the moment they are needed. A woman with silver pins in her hair whispers something, and the others listen with the solemn attention usually reserved for omens or especially good gossip. The smell of olive oil drifts from a stall beside the entrance. Small flasks stand in rows, some plain and some painted. There are sponges, cloths, wooden combs, cheap pins, and packets of herbs. One bundle is said to smooth the skin. Another is said to prevent headaches. A third seems capable of both, while also discouraging bad dreams, though even now it is hard to tell whether the seller believes this himself. The rising light touches the upper walls. Painted plaster glows faintly beneath the grime. The archway opens into warm darkness. You step beneath it. Behind you the street continues waking. A mule brays. The broken cartwheel knocks farther away. The dog from the lodging has followed you and now sits outside, offended that dogs are not considered serious bathhouse customers. Ahead, the air changes. It is warmer here, carrying the scents of oil, damp stone ash perfume, and heated water. Voices echo from within. Coins click against a wooden counter. Somewhere deeper inside, a door swings shut with a heavy sound. You stand between the cold city and the waking baths, river mist clinging to your cloak and warmth touching your face for the first time that morning. Then you move forward with the arriving women, leaving the muddy street behind as the great daily ritual begins to gather around you. The warmth beneath the arch does not yet reach your bones, but it loosens the cold around your shoulders as you join the slow line beside the entrance counter. Around you, women adjust their cloaks, shift baskets from one arm to the other, and check once more that nothing important has been left behind. The preparations for a morning at the baths begin long before anyone touches warm water, and every basket seems to carry a small household within it. The merchant's wife, who stepped into the puddle, sets down a woven container beside her feet. Her servant lifts the lid and quietly inspects its contents. Folded linen cloths lie at the bottom, clean enough to show that they have been washed, beaten, dried, and guarded from soot with considerable care. On top rests a narrow flask of olive oil stoppered with cork and wrapped in wool so that it will not break against the other objects. Beside it lies a curved bronze strigil. The tool resembles a small, elegant sickle with a blunt edge. It is made not for cutting grain, but for scraping oil, sweat, and dust from the skin. The merchant's wife has brought her own, polished until the handle shines. A poorer visitor may borrow one pay to use one belonging to the bathhouse or make do with something less impressive. Nothing in the ancient city is so simple that wealth cannot make it slightly more decorative. A young woman ahead of you carries only a cloth bundle. When she unwraps it, you glimpse a wooden comb, a tiny mirror of polished metal, and a pair of sandals with thick soles. The bathhouse floors may be warm, but they may also be wet, slippery, and unkind to bare feet. Sandals protect against heat grime and the mysterious puddle that no one wishes to identify. Her mother reaches into the bundle and checks for coins. A bath fee may be small, yet small coins have a habit of disappearing when most needed. They slip beneath cushions, hide inside folds of clothing, and migrate into the hands of children who insist they have found them honestly. The older woman counts them twice, ties them into the corner of a cloth, and places the knot safely beneath her cloak. Some women pay for themselves, others arrive with household servants instructed to carry the money oils, towels, and spare garments. A few wealthier visitors bring several attendants each, responsible for one narrow part of the day. One carries the clothing, another carries cosmetics. A third carries snacks because even relaxation apparently requires a supply train. You watch a matron enter with two servants behind her. The first bears a covered basket containing linen, a fresh tunic, and a soft wool wrap for the journey home. The second carries small ceramic jars sealed with wax. One holds scented oil, another contains a pale face preparation. A third may hold crushed herbs mixed with fat or honey. No one can quite agree whether some of these mixtures improve the skin or merely persuade everyone nearby that something medicinal is happening. The matron removes one jar and smells it. Rose, perhaps softened with olive oil. Perfume matters in a crowded bathhouse where warm air carries every scent with great loyalty. Wealthier women may bring oils scented with iris myrrh, cinnamon, or imported resins. Others use plain oil which cleans just as well and does not cost the price of a modest goat. Near the wall, a servant struggles with a larger bundle. A rolled towel slips free and lands on the damp floor. Her mistress stares at it. The servant stares at it. You stare at it. For one solemn moment, the fate of the morning seems to depend upon whether the cloth has touched the ground long enough to become socially unacceptable. The servant picks it up, brushes it carefully, and rolls it inward so that the stained side disappears. Civilization survives. More women pass through the arch, bringing combs with wide teeth for untangling hair, and finer teeth for smoothing it afterward. Hairpins made of bone bronze or carved wood are tucked into little pouches. Some bring ribbons and nets. Elaborate hairstyles may take hours to arrange, and bathing threatens them with steam, dampness, and gravity. A young attendant carries a small wooden box belonging to her mistress. Inside are dark powders for the eyes, red pigment for the cheeks, and pale substances meant to brighten the face. There is also a bit of pumice, a pair of tweezers, and a bronze needle. Beauty, you begin to understand, is less a peaceful gift than a collection of tiny instruments. Protective objects are prepared as carefully as cosmetics. One woman wears an amulet beneath her tunic hidden against a chest. Another keeps a charm tied around her wrist with red thread. Some swear that certain stones guard the body from fever or jealousy. Others believe a knot, a whispered phrase, or a small image of a god can turn away misfortune. Even now it is hard to tell whether the women trust these charms completely or simply prefer not to risk leaving them at home. Food also finds its way into the baskets. A servant unwraps bread dates and a small wedge of cheese. Another woman carries dried figs in a cloth pouch. The baths may occupy hours, and hunger pays little respect to dignity. Vendors wait inside, but bringing one's own provisions costs less and avoids paying bathhouse prices, which appear to rise in direct proportion to thirst. You notice that the poorest women arrive with almost nothing. A plain cloth, a few coins, perhaps a borrowed oil flask. They walk without servants and hold their belongings close. Yet their preparations are no less deliberate. A cloak is folded carefully. A comb is wrapped to prevent its teeth from breaking. A clean tunic is guarded from mud as though it were silk. The objects reveal the shape of each woman's life. The wealthy carry comfort fragrance, spare clothing servants, and polished bronze. Working women carry only what they can protect with two hands. Older women bring remedies for aching joints. Younger women bring mirrors and pins. Mothers carry items for themselves and for daughters who will certainly forget something. At the edge of the hall, one girl realizes she has left her sandals at home. She whispers to her sister. Her sister closes her eyes in the patient manner of someone who predicted this before dawn. After a brief exchange, they agree to share a pair, though how two people intend to share sandals remains a mystery best left to philosophers. The line moves forward. The merchant's wife lifts her basket. The young woman reties her bundle. The matron's servants straighten beneath their loads. Coins are counted once more, oil flasks, checked cloths tucked safely away. You follow them deeper into the entrance hall, surrounded by the quiet clink of bronze, the rustle of linen, and the warm herbal scent of preparations made carefully at home before the city had fully awakened. The entrance hall opens wider as you move beyond the counter, and the quiet order of the doorway gives way to a world of echoes. Sandals slap against stone, attendants call to one another, coins strike wood baskets, scrape walls, and every voice seems to return from the painted ceiling slightly louder than before, as if the building itself enjoys repeating gossip. The women ahead of you slow near a long table where the bath fee is collected. A broad-shouldered attendant sits behind it with a wax tablet as stylus and the expression of a man who has already heard every possible excuse for not paying. The young woman with the cloth bundle unties her coins. Her mother watches carefully, making certain that the correct amount changes hands. Fees are often modest, sometimes lower for women than for men, though the exact custom varies by place, season, generosity, and the mood of whoever controls the purse. On festival days, a wealthy patron may pay for public admission. Such gifts are announced with great pride because generosity becomes even more virtuous when carved into stone, where no one can forget it. A woman near you asks whether the price has changed since last week. The attendant says no. She says she is certain it has. He says she may inspect the tablet herself. She cannot read the tablet. This ends the argument without resolving it, which is one of civilization's oldest administrative techniques. You place your coin on the table and feel the attendant's eyes pass over your damp cloak, muddy boots, and uncertain expression. He sweeps the payment into a shallow box without comment. The iron key hanging from his belt is large enough to open a fortress gate, though it probably belongs to a cupboard containing towels. Beyond him, another worker gestures towards separate passages. The bathhouse follows a schedule that shapes who enters when they enter and which rooms they use. In some cities, women bathe during the morning or early afternoon while men come later. In others, they use different sections of the building. In still others, arrangements are less orderly, and moralists complain with such enthusiasm that one suspects complaining may be their favorite public exercise. No one can quite agree whether the rules have always been strict or only become strict whenever someone important feels offended. Today, the women are directed toward a wide corridor where pale light falls through high windows. The floor is damp near the walls. Painted borders of vines and sea creatures curl along the plaster, chipped in places by age and careless baskets. A mosaic beneath your feet shows dolphins leaping through dark waves, though one dolphin has lost half its face and now looks understandably tired. An attendant stands at the junction repeating instructions. Cloaks and shoes are to be taken to the changing room. Valuable objects should be watched. Oil can be purchased farther inside. No running, no shouting near the heated chambers. No blaming the staff if a personal comb has been placed somewhere foolish. The rules are simple, which means they are ignored almost immediately. Two sisters hurry past, one carrying the shared sandals beneath her arm. A servant calls after them. The merchant's wife pauses to ask whether the hottest room is ready. An older woman complains that last time the water had been warm rather than properly hot, a failing she describes with the gravity of military defeat. The entrance hall reveals rank before anyone removes a single garment. Wealthier women arrive surrounded by attendants who make space around them. Their baskets are larger, their oil flasks finer, and their greetings slightly slower, allowing others time to notice them. Women of modest means stand closer to the walls, keeping hold of their own belongings. Enslaved attendants move between both groups carrying cloaks, cloths, sandals, jars, and responsibility for anything that later goes missing. A matron in a fur-lined cloak speaks quietly to the attendant at the passage. He bows and sends a boy running deeper into the building. Perhaps a private corner is being prepared, or a particular masseuse summoned. Privilege often looks less like gold and more like never having to wait beside a wet wall. Still, the bathhouse mixes people in ways the street does not. A baker's wife may stand near a senator's cousin. A market seller may hear news from a household she could never enter. A widow may meet friends, clients, distant relatives, and women who insist they are not listening while listening with extraordinary care. The line pauses again near a small niche, holding a protective image blackened by lamp smoke. A few women touch the stone as they pass. One presses 2 fingers to her lips, then to the image. Another places a tiny flower at its base. Some swear that spirits haunt doorways because thresholds confuse them. Others claim that a bathhouse full of steam, naked bodies, flowing water, and hidden fires attracts forces best treated politely. The attendant beside the niche rolls his eyes but does not remove the offerings. Even disbelief becomes cautious when repeated often enough. A bell sounds somewhere within the complex. It is not like the monastery bells that marked your morning in the cold lodging, but the note still divides time. Workers begin opening doors. A wave of warmer air moves through the corridor, carrying the smell of heated stone, olive oil, damp linen, and wood smoke from the furnaces below. The dog from the street appears briefly at the arch behind you. He has followed the crowd this far and now studies the entrance with professional interest. A porter points outside. The dog sits down. The porter points again. The dog looks away, apparently believing that rules only apply when acknowledged. You continue past the niche and beneath a lower arch. The sounds grow softer here, though the echoes remain. Women speak in murmurs. Cloth rustles. Bronze pins click inside wooden boxes. A servant passes carrying a stack of folded linen, so high that only her sandals are visible. Ahead stands an oak door reinforced with iron bands. An attendant pulls it open, revealing the changing room beyond. Warm lamplight spills across the threshold. The merchant's wife enters first, followed by her servant and the polished strigil. The sisters with one pair of sandals slip in after her. The matron's attendants follow beneath their baskets. You move with them, leaving the fees, schedules, painted dolphins, and watchful officials behind. As the door swings inward, conversation rises from the room beyond a steady current of laughter, complaint, warning, and rumor. You step across the threshold, one hand still holding your cloak closed, and enter the place where every visitor must surrender the protections of the street before the baths can truly begin. The changing room receives you in a wash of warm air, lamplight, and overlapping voices. Benches run along the walls beneath rows of wooden pegs and shallow niches. Cloaks hang in dark folds. Sandals lie beneath them in pairs, except where one has wandered into the wrong corner and now waits innocently beside a stranger's basket. You step away from the iron-banded door and loosen the clasp at your throat. Around you, women begin the careful work of undressing in a public room without ever behaving as though anything remarkable is happening. Cloth slides from shoulders, belts are untied, pins are removed from hair and placed between lips while both hands remain occupied. Servants fold tunics, gather undergarments, arrange towels, and attempt to remember which object belongs to which mistress. The merchant's wife selects a bench near the centre of the room. Her servant spreads a linen cloth before setting down the basket, protecting it from the damp stone. The polished strigil is placed beside the oil flask. Jewellery follows: 2 bronze bracelets, a ring, and a pair of earrings with small red stones. Each piece is counted aloud. The servant repeats the number. The merchant's wife repeats it again. Trust is a noble virtue, but arithmetic is safer. You choose a place nearer the wall where a narrow shelf offers space for your folded cloak. The wool is damp from the river mist, and when you remove it, the smell of rain and smoke rises around you. Beneath it, your tunic feels suddenly too light. The room is warmer than the street, yet not warm enough to make undressing entirely pleasant. A woman beside you shivers as she pulls one arm free. "This is the worst room," she murmurs to her companion. "Too warm for a cloak and too cold without one." Her companion nods. It is difficult to argue with such precise suffering. Valuables create the greatest concern. Some women leave jewellery at home. Others refuse to be seen without it until the last possible moment. Wealthier visitors may bring a servant whose main duty is to sit beside the clothing and watch. Poorer women tuck coins into shoes, tie rings into cloth corners, or place personal objects deep beneath folded garments. No method is perfect. The bathhouse has attendants known for guarding belongings, but theft remains a familiar worry. A missing pin may be blamed on a stranger. A lost coin may inspire accusations. A vanished cloak can turn a peaceful morning into a legal and spiritual crisis. Near the far bench, an older woman discovers that one of her hairpins is gone. She searches the folds of her tunic. Her daughter checks the floor. A servant looks beneath the bench. Within moments, 3 nearby women are involved, each offering a different theory. One believes the pin fell in the corridor. Another suspects the woman never brought it. A third quietly suggests the evil eye. Some swear that envy can make objects vanish, milk, sour hair fall loose, or plans go badly. A small charm worn beneath clothing may guard against it. So may a gesture of the fingers, a muttered phrase, or a piece of coral. No one can quite agree whether these protections work, but nearly everyone knows someone who carries one. The lost pin is eventually found caught in the woman's own hair. No one mentions this when the evil eye is blamed again. You remove your belt and place it beneath the cloak. The iron buckle feels cold against your palm. Beside it, you set your coins, wrapping them in a strip of cloth before pushing them toward the back of the niche. The arrangement seems secure until you notice that every thief in the city has probably seen the same arrangement hundreds of times. An attendant moves between the benches, offering to watch belongings for a small payment. She has quick eyes, broad hands, and a calm expression of someone who can recognize 16 nearly identical tunics at a glance. Women call her overpoint to baskets and give instructions with unnecessary detail. This blue cloak, the one with the darker border, not that blue cloak. The other blue cloak. The attendant nods as though the difference is obvious. The sisters with the shared sandals sit near the door. One keeps the left sandal and the other the right. They appear satisfied with this division, though neither has explained how they intend to walk. Their servant places the remaining bundle between them and warns them not to wander separately. You fold your tunic over the cloak. Linen wrinkles beneath your hands. Without clothing, rank becomes less visible but never disappears completely. It remains in posture, speech, jewelry, servants, skin treatments, and the confidence with which a woman claims the best place on a bench. The matron in the fur-lined cloak undresses behind 2 attendants holding up a large cloth. It offers privacy from the room, though everyone can still see her sandals beneath it and hear her complaining that the cloth is crooked. Her garments are folded into careful layers. A small amulet remains tied around her neck. Many women keep protective charms on even while bathing. Water washes dirt away, but it may also leave the body open to chill spirits or unlucky influences. Those who tell the tale never fully agree whether certain bathhouse illnesses come from cold air, bad water, offended gods, or simply staying too long in the hottest room. Across from you, a younger woman removes a necklace and hesitates. She looks toward the niches, then at the crowd, then back at the necklace. Finally, she passes it to her elderly servant, who places it inside her own tunic and sits firmly on the bench. The servant's expression promises that anyone attempting theft will leave with fewer fingers than they arrived with, though probably only in a figurative and properly PG-13 sense. The room grows steadily louder. Women call for towels, servants ask where oil has been placed. Someone claims another visitor has taken her comb. The accused woman holds up her own comb, which is made of bone rather than wood, settling the matter, but not improving anyone's mood. Warm moisture gathers on the walls. Lamps burn in shallow niches, their flames bending whenever the door opens. Each opening admits a breath of colder air, and another cluster of women carrying baskets chatter, and the faint smells of the city outside. You slip off your muddy boots last. Their soles leave dark marks on the floor. You place them beneath the bench and push them close to the wall. The dog outside would probably recognize them immediately, which may be more security than the bathhouse provides. Now only the bathing sandals remain. You fasten them carefully and stand, feeling the thick soles against the stone. Your belongings lie folded behind you beneath the wavering lamplight, cloak, tunic, belt, coins, and the small signs of the person you appear to be in the street. Ahead, a curtain stirs in the warmer draught. Beyond it waits the first heated chamber filled with quiet conversation and the promise of warmth settling slowly into cold skin. You glance once more at your niche, then join the other women moving toward the curtain, leaving clothing, jewelry, suspicion, and watchful attendants behind. You pass through the curtain and enter a chamber where the air rests warm and still against your skin. The change is gentle rather than dramatic. There is no burst of steam, no fierce heat, only a steady warmth rising from the floor and lingering in the walls. After the river mist, the muddy streets, and the changing room's uncertain chill, the tepid chamber feels almost kind. Your shoulders lower, your fingers uncurl. The cold that has followed you since dawn begins to retreat without argument. Benches of stone line the room, their surfaces softened by folded cloths and the patient heat beneath them. Lamps burn in wall niches beside painted panels of gardens, birds and distant blue water. The colours have faded, yet the painted leaves still seem to stir when the flames move. Women settle along the benches in loose groups. Some sit upright, already talking. Others lean back against the warm wall with closed eyes. Servants arrange towels, untie oil flasks, and hold baskets on their laps. The room carries the mingled scents of olive oil, damp linen, rose perfume, warm stone, and the faint smoke of the furnaces hidden below. You choose a place near a painted vine and lower yourself carefully. The stone is warmer than expected. You rise halfway, reconsider your dignity, then sit again more slowly. A woman beside you notices and smiles without turning her head. She has probably watched this same mistake every morning for 20 years and finds it comforting that humanity remains consistent. The warmth enters through your palms when you press them against the bench. It moves into your legs and back, loosening the stiffness left by the cold lodging. Around you, conversation flows at an easy pace. No one seems hurried. The tepid room is a place for waiting, for allowing the body to adjust before entering stronger heat, and for learning everything that has happened in the city since yesterday. The merchant's wife sits across from you, while her servant holds the polished strigil and oil flask. She greets a cloth seller whose husband has recently returned from a trading journey. They speak first about wool prices, then about a delayed shipment, then about the trader's sister who has apparently refused a marriage proposal for reasons no one understands. No one refuses a house with 2 courtyards, the merchant's wife says. The cloth seller replies that the roof leaks. This changes the moral character of the proposal considerably. Nearby, the 2 sisters with the shared sandals whisper about hairstyles. One has loosened her hair, allowing it to fall in dark waves over her shoulders. The other studies the arrangement of pins worn by a wealthy matron near the center of the room. The pins are silver-tipped with carved ivory and positioned so carefully that even breathing too confidently might disturb them. The sisters quietly debate whether the style is elegant or ridiculous. They decide it is both. Clothing is discussed even when no one is wearing very much of it. Women compare dyes, borders, imported cloth, and the skill of different seamstresses. A new shade of red has appeared in the market. Someone claims it fades after a single washing. Someone else insists hers has remained perfect for months. A third says the dye attracts moths. Some swear that storing cloth with bay leaves protects it. Others recommend cedar chips, bitter herbs, or a charm tied to the chest of the storage box. Even now it is hard to tell whether the moths fear the smell, the magic, or simply better organized households. A servant moves through the chamber carrying a shallow basin of water. Another offers small cloths for wiping perspiration from the face. The heat is mild, yet beads of moisture begin to gather along foreheads and necks. You breathe slowly and feel the warmth deepen. At the far end of the room, an older woman stretches one leg before her and rubs the knee. Her companion produces a small jar of herbal paste and applies it with careful fingers. The mixture smells of vinegar, rosemary, and something sharply medicinal. The older woman says it was prepared by a healer who learned the recipe from a soldier. Her companion asks whether the soldier still has both knees. The older woman considers this and admits she does not know. Remedies travel through cities like rumors. They pass from mothers to daughters, servants to mistresses, traders to customers. Crushed herbs may be mixed with wine oil, honey, animal fat, or confidence. One woman trusts fennel for swollen eyes, another recommends warm cabbage leaves for aching joints. A third insists that sleeping with a small stone beneath the bed prevents cramps. No one can quite agree whether these cures help, but everyone agrees that the person recommending them should speak with authority. You listen as the room's conversations overlap. A child in one household has a fever. A baker has begun making smaller loaves while charging the same price. A neighbor's rooftop tiles fell during the night. A local official has purchased a new carriage too wide for his own gateway. The last story travels quickly from bench to bench, improving slightly each time. By the time it reaches the merchant's wife, the carriage has become enormous, the gateway has collapsed, and 3 priests have been called to settle the dispute. The women speak not only for amusement. News gathered here has value. A household seeking a reliable servant may hear a name. A widow may learn which grain seller offers fair measures. A mother may discover which tutor drinks too much. A merchant's wife may learn that a ship has arrived before her husband thinks to mention it. You begin to understand why the baths matter beyond cleanliness. The warm chamber is an exchange of information, favours, warnings, introductions, and quiet judgments. Every greeting reveals a relationship. Every pause reveals another. The wealthy matron behind the cloth screen now sits without it, though her attendants remain close. She speaks to an elderly woman dressed more plainly than the others. Their conversation is soft, but respectful. Rank bends here without disappearing. Warm stone places different lives side by side, at least until the baskets are opened and the silver oil flasks appear. A woman near the doorway examines another's bracelet and asks where it was purchased. The answer is vague. The bracelet was a gift from a relative, a distant relative, very distant. The room accepts this explanation with the polite silence reserved for stories no one believes but everyone intends to repeat. The dog from outside scratches once at the changing room door. The sound barely reaches you through the curtain. One of the sisters hears it and glances back. "He is still there," she says. "He has more patience than you," her sister replies. Their servant nods solemnly. Time passes without bells. The warmth becomes ordinary. Your breathing slows with the soft murmur around you. Somewhere beneath the floor, fuel settles in the furnace with a muted crack. A lamp flame trembles, then steadies. An attendant enters and announces that the hotter chamber is ready. The conversations do not stop at once. Women finish stories, retie hair, gather towels, and stand slowly. The merchant's servant takes up the oil and bronze striggle. The older woman wipes the herbal paste from her knee. The matron's attendants lift their baskets. You rise from the warm bench, leaving the painted vine and its wavering leaves behind. Ahead, another doorway opens and a denser breath of heat rolls into the room, carrying steam oil and the deeper promise of fire beneath stone. You cross the threshold with the others, and the heat closes around you like a heavy wool cloak fresh from the hearth. For a moment you stop breathing properly. The air is thicker here, warm enough to soften every sound and turn the distant conversations into a low, blurred murmur. Moisture gathers instantly along your brow. The stone beneath your sandals presses heat upward through the soles, while the walls seem to return the warmth from every direction. You feel as though you have stepped inside the breath of some patient, underground beast. The merchant's wife enters ahead of you and lifts one hand to shield her face. Her servant follows with the oil flask and polished striggle, looking far less impressed by the heat. Servants are expected to endure weather crowds, heavy baskets, impatient mistresses, and rooms designed to make breathing feel optional. Benches line the chamber beneath a curved ceiling, darkened slightly by years of steam and lamp smoke. Small openings near the roof allow the air to move, though not with any enthusiasm. At the far end, a shallow basin reflects the wavering lamps. Water slips from a bronze spout in a thin, continuous stream, making a sound soft enough to settle beneath the whisper of voices. You choose a place near the wall and sit. The heat enters you more quickly than it did in the tepid room. It loosens the muscles across your back, softens your hands, and draws sweat from the skin. Within minutes, moisture runs along your temples and gathers beneath your chin. You wipe it away with the edge of a cloth, but more appears almost immediately. A woman nearby closes her eyes and breathes through her mouth. Her companion asks whether she is comfortable. "No," she says, "but I am certain it is good for me." This may be the oldest explanation for enduring unpleasant remedies. Attendants move quietly among the benches, offering oil and helping women prepare for scraping. Olive oil is poured into small dishes or warmed in the hands before being spread across the skin. Some women bring it plain. Others add perfume herbs or costly imported scents. The merchant's servant opens the wrapped flask and pours a little into her palm. The smell of roses rises into the heated air. Across the room, another woman uses oil, scented with myrrh. A third has mixed hers with crushed leaves that smell sharp and green. A poorer visitor buys a spoonful of ordinary oil from an attendant who measures it with the caution of a jeweler weighing silver. You rub oil between your palms. It is cooler than your skin at first, then quickly warms. You smooth it along your arms and shoulders, feeling it gather the sweat dust and traces of the street that remain despite the warm rooms. There is no soap in the way a later age might expect. Instead, oil lifts the dirt and the curved strigil removes it. An attendant offers you one made of bronze. Its handle is worn smooth by many hands. The curved edge is blunt but firm-shaped to follow the body. You draw it carefully along your forearm. A thin line of oil perspiration and city dust gathers before the blade. It is not elegant, but it is effective. The first stroke feels strange. The second feels satisfying. Soon the slow scraping becomes part of the chamber's rhythm. Bronze edges move along arms, legs, shoulders, and backs. Cloths wipe away what the strigils collect. Oil is applied again where the skin has dried too quickly. The merchant's wife stretches one arm while her servant works with steady care. Each stroke is smooth and practiced. The servant knows where to press more firmly and where to move gently. She has probably repeated the same motions hundreds of times, though no one thinks to praise expertise that arrives in the hands of someone expected to provide it. A few women scrape their own skin. Others trade help with friends. An older visitor turns her back toward her daughter, who draws the bronze tool slowly across the shoulder blades. "You missed a place," the mother says. "I have not reached it yet. You missed it yesterday as well." The daughter breathes deeply through her nose and continues. Family affection survives many things, including detailed criticism in rooms hot enough to test the soul. Sweat continues to gather. The warmth opens the skin, or so the women say, allowing oil and scraping to cleanse more deeply. Some swear that sweating drives illness from the body. Others believe it balances unseen forces within the flesh. A healer may recommend heat for stiffness, heaviness, or melancholy, though no one can quite agree whether the cure lies in the steam, the oil, the rest, or simply escaping one's household for several hours. Near the basin, an attendant sprinkles water over heated stone. A soft hiss rises. Steam unfurls across the room and briefly veils the lamps. Painted figures along the wall disappear behind it, then return as pale shapes. The women's voices grow quieter. Even the merchant's wife stops speaking for a few breaths. You inhale slowly. The air smells of mineral water, warm olive oil, perfume, damp cloth, and skin heated clean. The outside world feels distant now, the cold lodging, the broken cart wheel, the muddy street, the dog waiting stubbornly beyond the entrance. A woman beside the basin presses a cloth soaked in cool water to her forehead. Her servant watches closely, ready to guide her out if the heat becomes too much. Staying too long is considered unwise, though pride sometimes keeps visitors seated after comfort has abandoned them. Some women believe stepping suddenly into cold air after strong heat invites fever. Others wrap the head before leaving, fearing that warmth escapes most quickly through the hair. One matron has brought a narrow wool band for precisely this purpose and ties it around her brow with the seriousness of a soldier fastening armor. Even now it is hard to tell whether the band protects her health or simply announces that she planned better than everyone else. You scrape the last oil from your arms and rinse the strigil in a small bowl. Dark curls of residue drift across the water before sinking. The sight is quietly convincing. Whatever the day placed upon your skin has been gathered and removed. An attendant takes the tool and wipes it with linen before offering it to the next visitor. You wonder briefly how many arms it has crossed this morning, then decide that some questions interfere with relaxation. The heat has made your limbs heavy. Your breathing is slower. The voices seem farther away, softened by steam. Women rise one by one, steadying themselves against the benches before moving toward the pools beyond. The merchant's servant corks the rose-scented flask. The older woman wraps herself in a cloth. The sisters collect their shed sandals, still one each, maintaining a system no one understands. You stand and feel warm moisture roll down your back. Ahead, through another archway, water catches the lamplight in shifting gold. Behind you, bronze strigils continue their gentle scraping. Before you, the pools wait, along with powders, combs, creams, and all the patient labor required to emerge from bathing not merely clean, but improved. You pass beneath the archway and enter a brighter chamber where the pools lie quiet beneath the lamps, their surfaces trembling whenever someone steps into the water. The heat is gentler here. Steam hangs in pale ribbons near the ceiling, but the air feels open after the closeness of the hottest room. You lower yourself beside a shallow basin and dip one foot into the water. Warmth climbs your ankle, then your calf, easing the heaviness left by sweat and scraping. Around the room, bathing begins to resemble a workshop, devoted entirely to the human body. Small jars appear from baskets, lids are lifted, powders are mixed with water or oil, combs, tweezers, pumice stones, cloths, needles, shells, and polished mirrors are arranged on benches with the careful order of tools before a craft. The merchant's wife sits near the largest pool while her servant unfastens a ceramic jar sealed with beeswax. Inside is a pale cream scented faintly with iris. She smooths it over her mistress's arms, working in slow circles, while the merchant's wife studies her reflection in a bronze mirror. The mirror does not flatter her. Polished metal reflects every face, slightly dimmer, slightly warped, and with the gentle suggestion that one has slept poorly for several years. Still, she tilts it toward the light and examines herself with grave concentration. A woman beside her produces a powder meant to brighten the skin. It is mixed in a shallow dish and applied carefully to the cheeks and forehead. Pale complexions are fashionable among women wealthy enough to avoid outdoor labor, and beauty treatments often attempt to imitate the appearance of a life spent indoors. Some preparations contain harmless chalk or flour. Others use substances that may irritate the skin, though their sellers describe the resulting redness as proof that the treatment is active. No one can quite agree whether certain creams make a woman more beautiful or simply more determined to say that they do. You rinse your arms in the warm basin while an attendant passes carrying a tray of small jars. She offers rose oil, almond paste, crushed herbs, and a mixture said to soften rough hands. The last preparation smells strongly of onions. A young woman purchases it, sniffs once, and looks uncertain. The attendant explains that beauty requires patience. The young woman replies that beauty should not require smelling like supper. Near the wall, the two sisters have begun combing their hair. Steam has loosened the careful arrangement of pins, leaving dark strands against their necks. One sister draws a wide-toothed comb from roots to ends, while the other holds sections apart. Hair care can occupy nearly as much time as bathing itself. Olive oil may be worked through dry strands. Perfumed preparations disguise smoke and sweat. Curling rods heated carefully, shape waves and ringlets, hair nets, ribbons, pins, and false pieces help create styles that rise above the head like small monuments to patience. A skilled hairdresser is valuable, particularly in a wealthy household. She must know fashion balance, heat pins, dyes, and when to remain silent during arguments. The last talent is probably the rarest. Across from you, the wealthy matron's attendants prepare a darker treatment for her hair. Grey strands are carefully separated. One servant applies the mixture with a narrow stick, avoiding the skin as best she can. Hair dyes are made from many ingredients. Plant extracts, mineral powders, oils and recipes passed from one household to another. Some are intended to darken the hair. Others lighten it toward shades admired from northern peoples. Certain mixtures use ash vinegar or strong soaps and leave the scalp tingling unpleasantly. Some swear that sitting in the sun strengthens the color. Others insist moonlight is better. Even now it is hard to tell whether either celestial body has been consulted. At another bench, an older woman rubs pumice over the sole of her foot. The stone is rough and light, useful for smoothing hardened skin. Her companion trims a nail with a small bronze blade and complains that the light is poor. Beside them, a servant prepares a depilatory paste. Removing body hair is common among those who can afford the time, tools, and discomfort. Hair may be plucked with tweezers, rubbed away with pumice, singed, or treated with mixtures containing resin ash oils or stronger substances. The past in the servant's bowl smells bitter enough to frighten nearby insects. Her mistress eyes it suspiciously. You used this before. Many times. On yourself, the servant pauses. The question has arrived at an inconvenient moment. The mistress chooses tweezers instead. You lower yourself farther into the pool until the water reaches your waist. Warm ripples spread around you. The stone edge supports your back while you watch cosmetics being mixed on the benches. Red color for the cheeks may come from plant pigments or mineral powders. Dark substances define the eyes and brows. Oils add shine to the skin. Honey appears in masks and ointments valued for softness and healing. Barley flour, lentils, animal fats, rosewater vinegar, and crushed seeds all find their way into recipes. A woman near the pool applies a paste of honey and ground grain to her face. She sits perfectly still while it dries. Her friend tells her she looks 10 years younger. She replies that she feels 10 years stickier. The friend promises this is normal. Beauty recipes often travel with stories. One is said to come from a queen, another from a famous courtesan, a third from an elderly healer who lived beyond the city walls and owned a goat with unusual intelligence. Those who tell the tale never fully agree whether the goat contributed to the recipe. The woman with the aching knee from the tepid room now soaks in a smaller pool while her companion massages scented oil into her hands. The harsh herbal paste has been replaced with something gentler, perhaps chamomile or rosé. She flexes her fingers and says the warmth helps. Nearby, a mother wipes her daughter's face with a cloth dipped in cool water. The girl has applied too much red pigment and resembles someone who has argued with a strong wind. Her mother removes most of it, leaving only a softer tint. Better, she says. The girl checks the bronze mirror and disagrees quietly. Attendants move between the groups, offering advice whether requested or not. One recommends oil for dry skin. Another suggests vinegar for spots. A third insists that a charm engraved with a crescent moon protects beauty from envy. Some women wear amulets for fertility, health, or attraction. Others tie coloured threads around the wrist or keep small stones in cosmetic boxes. A beauty treatment may be physical, magical, medicinal, or all three at once. In a world where illness arrives without explanation and mirrors offer uncertain evidence, there is comfort in using every available method. You step from the pool and wrap a cloth around your shoulders. The chamber smells of flowers, vinegar, warm water, honey ash, and perfume. It is a strange mixture, yet not unpleasant. The women around you continue combing, scraping, rubbing, plucking, painting, rinsing, and examining. Behind every polished face is time. Behind every elaborate hairstyle are aching arms. Behind every fashionable treatment is a servant holding the bowl. The merchant's wife lifts her mirror once more. Her skin shines with rose oil. Her hair has been smoothed, and her bracelets wait beside the folded linen. She gives a small nod, satisfied enough to continue. You follow her gaze toward the attendants moving quietly through the steam and begin to notice how much labor passes unseen beneath the ease of the baths. You remain near the edge of the pool wrapped in warm linen, while the chamber continues its slow-turning rhythm of oil-water combs, jars, and quiet instruction. Yet now that you have noticed the servants, it becomes difficult to look anywhere else. They are everywhere. One kneels beside the merchant's wife, polishing the bronze triggle after use. Another carries wet cloths toward a side passage. A third holds a mirror at precisely the angle her mistress prefers, though the position forces her wrist into an uncomfortable bend. Near the wall, two attendants lift a heavy basket between them while its owner walks ahead carrying nothing but a small perfume flask. Comfort, you begin to understand, has many hands. The baths seem effortless only when viewed from the benches. Below the floor, furnace workers feed wood into roaring fires. In distant service corridors, others carry water scrub basins, empty waste repair pipes, wash linen, and clear ash. The warm stone beneath your feet depends upon labour hidden in dark rooms where no painted dolphins leap across mosaics and no rose oil sweetens the air. A young servant enters carrying a stack of towels against her chest. The pile rises to her chin. She cannot see the low bench in her path. Her shin finds it first. The towels wobble. 3 women lift their hands in alarm, not for the servant but for the linen. She regains her balance and continues with the expression of someone who has narrowly saved the empire. The bathhouse employs attendants for nearly every task. Some guard clothing, some sell oil, some scrape skin, massage shoulders, arrange hair, trim nails, or bring refreshments. Others sweep wet floors and collect discarded cloths. Enslaved workers perform much of this labour, though free workers also earn wages within the complex. Their skills vary and reputations travel quickly. A good masseuse may become known across the neighbourhood. A careful hairdresser is sought after. An attendant who remembers faces, baskets, and preferred oils earns trust. One who loses a silver pin may never hear the end of it, even if the pin is later discovered inside its owner's hair. No one can quite agree whether a particular masseuse near the central pool learned her technique from a physician, a wrestler, or a sailor from Alexandria. She is broad-handed and silent, which encourages every version of the story. You watch her work on the shoulders of the wealthy matron. The matron sits upon a folded cloth while the masseuse presses oil into the muscles of her neck and back. The movements are slow, practiced, and firm. The matron's face softens. Her usual expression of controlled disappointment disappears for several peaceful breaths. Then the pressure deepens. She makes a small sound. "Too much?" the masseuse asks. "No," the matron replies quickly. "Pride prevents more discomfort than medicine ever cures." Nearby, an enslaved hairdresser stands behind one of the sisters, separating damp strands with a wooden comb. Her fingers move swiftly. She divides, twists, smooths pins, and begins again. The sister watches in the bronze mirror and offers frequent guidance. Higher. The hairdresser lifts the arrangement. Not that high. She lowers it. More to the left. The hairdresser moves one pin by the width of a grain. Perfect. The servant's face does not change. Such discipline deserves a monument. Many attendants know their mistress's habits better than family members do. They know which perfumes cause headaches, which pinches of powder are enough, which scars should be hidden, which joints ache in cold weather, and which topics should never be mentioned before breakfast. They also hear everything. The servant folding linen beside a bench hears a marriage complaint. The girl carrying oil hears that a trader is nearly bankrupt. The masseuse learns which magistrate drinks too much. The hairdresser hears the name of a secret admirer while fastening a ribbon. Servants are expected to be present and absent at the same time. Their bodies remain in the room. Their ears are treated as furniture. Some swear that the most accurate news in any city travels first through servants' quarters, kitchens, stables, and bathhouse corridors. Others insist attendants invent half of what they repeat. Even now, it is hard to tell whether the stories grow because servants exaggerate them or because masters prefer not to admit how interesting their own behavior has become. You follow a worker through a side arch carrying used strigils. The passage beyond is narrower and dimmer. The polished walls give way to plain stone. Here the air smells less of perfume and more of wet cloth ash and hot metal. Baskets line the floor, clay jars wait to be refilled. A woman kneels beside a basin, washing bronze tools one after another. She dips each strigil into hot water, wipes the curved blade, checks the handle, and places it on a cloth. Her fingers are reddened from heat. She pauses only to flex them before continuing. Farther down the passage, another worker wrings linen into a drain. Water darkened by oil runs between the stones. A boy carries firewood past you, shoulders hunch beneath the load. He disappears through a door where furnace light flickers against the wall. The heat from that doorway is fierce. You glimpse men working beside the hypercaust furnace, feeding wood into the fire that warms the floors above. Their tunics cling with sweat, ash coats their arms. One uses a long iron rake to spread burning fuel, another carries out a basket of cinders. Above them, women recline upon warm benches and complain when the chamber is 1 degree cooler than expected. The contrast is almost impressive. You return to the brighter bathing room, where an attendant is helping the older woman with the aching knee step from the pool. She supports her carefully by the elbow, waits while she finds balance, then wraps her in linen. There is gentleness in the gesture, though it may be routine. Labor can become skilled without becoming easy. At the benches, servants pack jars and combs back into baskets. They scrape wax from lids, dry spilled oil. Locate missing pins, fold damp cloths separately from clean ones, and remember which sandals belong to whom. The sisters still possess 1 sandal each. Their attendant has given up asking questions. The merchant's wife calls for her rose oil. Her servant produces it immediately. She asks for the smaller towel. The servant finds it beneath the larger one. She asks where her ring has gone. The servant points to the exact place where the merchant's wife put it herself. A long silence follows. The merchant's wife picks up the ring and behaves as though the matter has been resolved through mutual effort. You sit again near the pool and watch the attendants continue moving through steam and lamplight. Their footsteps rarely stop. Their names are seldom spoken. They carry the comfort of others from room to room, along with baskets, gossip, wet linen, polished bronze, and the invisible weight of being blamed whenever anything cannot be found. Around you, the baths remain warm, fragrant, orderly, and luxurious. Behind every pleasant detail, someone works. The attendants continue moving through the steam, but the room itself begins to change as the morning deepens. The first rush of bathing has softened into a slower hour. Women linger near the warm pools, wrap themselves in linen, settle onto benches, and allow conversation to stretch wherever it wishes. Above you, painted ceilings arch through the haze. Faded seahorses twist between blue borders. Small, winged figures carry garlands toward cracked corners. A painted nymph leans from a garden that no longer exists. Her face darkened by lamp smoke and moisture. Beneath her patient gaze, the city speaks. At first, the talk concerns ordinary things. A grain seller near the Eastern Market has been caught using false weights. A roof has collapsed after rain. A household cook has left without warning, taking a bronze pan and half a sack of lentils. A woman with tightly braided hair insists the cook was always suspicious because she disliked garlic. No one else considers this proof. Still, by the time the story reaches the far bench the missing cook has stolen, Silver insulted a magistrate and escaped, disguised as a man. Gossip grows especially well in warm rooms. You sit beside the older woman with the aching knee while her companion folds a cloth beneath her feet. The older woman listens with closed eyes, appearing almost asleep. Yet whenever someone lowers a voice nearby, one eye opens slightly. Across the pool, the merchant's wife leans toward the cloth seller. "You did not hear it from me," she says. This phrase is generally the beginning of hearing something from someone. She tells of a marriage arrangement between two respected households. The groom is wealthy, the bride young, and both families publicly delighted. Privately, however, the groom may owe money to several traders, or perhaps his uncle owes it, or perhaps there is no debt at all, only a warehouse that burned under unfortunate circumstances. No one can quite agree whether the fire was an accident. Some swear that lamps were seen moving inside after midnight. Others say the warehouse held damp wool and nothing worth stealing. A third woman claims the owner himself arranged the loss to avoid paying creditors, though she admits she heard this from a cousin who drinks strongly mixed wine. The older woman beside you opens both eyes now. Family matters travel easily through the baths because they concern everyone sooner or later. Mothers discuss daughters, aunts discuss nephews, widows discuss which households have become careless. Servants mention engagements before fathers have announced them. A woman may arrive intending only to wash and leave, knowing 3 people are pregnant, 2 are separating, and 1 has purchased curtains far beyond her means. The wealthy matron sits near the painted garden, receiving visitors one by one. A woman approaches, greets her formally, and speaks about a cousin seeking a place in a respectable household. Another mentions a young man in need of patronage. A third asks whether the matron still knows the official responsible for market permits. The conversation remains soft, almost casual, yet favors move beneath it like fish under water. A recommendation here may secure work. A warning may prevent a marriage. A quiet word may close a door before the person outside knows there was ever an entrance. You begin to see that reputation is shaped not only in courts, forums, and family homes, but also on warm benches beneath cracked paintings. The 2 sisters sit nearby while their hairdresser finishes pinning damp curls. They whisper about a woman entering from the changing room in a purple-bordered wrap. One sister says the color is too expensive for her household. The other says perhaps it was a gift. The servant between them says nothing. Her face remains calm, but her eyebrows rise very slightly. That is enough. Politics also finds its way into the room, though it arrives wrapped in household language. A tax collector has become unusually active. A public official has delayed repairs to a fountain. A wealthy patron has promised new paving stones but provided only speeches. Women complain about water deliveries, market tolls, food prices, and the condition of streets with the practical authority of those who manage households dependent upon all 4. A baker's wife says flour costs more each week. The merchant's wife blames transport. The cloth seller blames officials. An elderly widow blames the weather, young people, and foreign spices in no particular order. Her solution is to return to the customs of earlier generations, though when asked which customs, she says only the sensible ones. Some swear that women at the baths avoid political matters entirely. Others describe rooms exactly like this one, where public events are measured by their effect on bread, rent, marriage, servants, children, and safety. Even now it is hard to tell where domestic conversation ends and politics begins. A sudden laugh moves through the chamber. The story concerns a magistrate known for giving long speeches. During a recent ceremony, a pigeon is said to have landed upon his head. He continued speaking. The pigeon also remained. Those who tell the tale never fully agree whether this lasted a few breaths or half an hour, but everyone prefers the longer version. You smile with the others, and the sound rises softly toward the painted ceiling. Not all gossip is harmless. A woman near the pool mentions a healer accused of selling false remedies. Another warns that a particular midwife asks too many questions. Someone else says a widow receives visitors after dark. The room grows quieter around the last remark. Reputation can be damaged by nothing more than a pause. The widow is not present to answer. Her absence creates space for invention. One woman defends her. Another says he has always been strange. A third changes the subject by asking for more warm water, perhaps out of kindness, perhaps because she knows the widow. You notice the servants listening while appearing not to listen. A girl collecting used cloths slows beside the bench. The hairdresser's hands pause for the briefest instant. An attendant pouring oil tilts her head. By evening, versions of the story may travel through kitchens, courtyards, workshops, and bedrooms across the city. The baths do not keep secrets. They warm them first. Near you, the older woman with the aching knee finally speaks. People talk because silence is heavy, she says. Her companion replies that silence weighs less than scandal. The older woman considers this only if you are carrying someone else's. The pool ripples as another visitor steps into the water. Lamps flicker in the steam. Beneath the painted nymph, conversations separate, merge and drift onward. Births, debts, illnesses, prices, proposals, failures, favours, and the pigeon that may or may not have disgraced a magistrate. You remain on the bench a little longer, listening as the city reveals itself not through proclamations or monuments, but through lowered voices, raised eyebrows, unfinished sentences, and the warm patience of women, who know that almost every truth arrives wearing a little embroidery. The murmurs beneath the painted ceiling follow you as you leave the warm pool and pass through a side doorway into an open courtyard. Cooler air brushes your face. It is not cold exactly, but after the heated rooms, it feels startlingly fresh, carrying the scents of wet stone, olive leaves, dust, and distant cooking fires. Above you, the sky has brightened into a pale winter blue. Sunlight falls between columns and lies in long rectangles across the ground. The courtyard is enclosed by covered walks with benches along the walls and a patch of packed earth at the centre. Painted lines mark spaces for games. Wooden balls rest in a wicker basket. A pair of attendants sweep leaves from the paving, though the wind keeps returning them with stubborn, civic enthusiasm. Women move through the open space in small groups. Some walk slowly beneath the colonnade wrapped in light cloths after bathing. Others stretch their arms, bend carefully at the waist, or rotate their shoulders while servants stand nearby with towels and oil. A few younger visitors gather around the basket of balls, already laughing before the game begins. Exercise here is not violent or exhausting. It is meant to warm the body, strengthen the limbs, encourage sweating, and prepare the skin for oil and scraping. Some women exercise before entering the hot rooms. Others return to the courtyard between baths, allowing the cooler air to steady them before moving inside again. You step onto the packed earth and feel the warmth of the sun across your shoulders. The merchant's wife walks around the courtyard with the cloth seller. Their pace is dignified and slow, though both swing their arms with more purpose than they did in the entrance hall. The merchant's servant follows behind, carrying the rose oil and bronze strigil, prepared for every possible change of plan. Near the columns, the older woman with the aching knee performs careful movements under the eye of her companion. She lifts one foot, circles the ankle, lowers it, and repeats. The herbal paste has been wiped away, but the sharp scent of rosemary still clings faintly to her skin. Does it help, her companion asks. It prevents me from sitting still while you advise me, the older woman replies. This appears to be benefit enough. You begin walking beneath the colonnade. The stone is drier here than inside, though small puddles gather near the drains. Sunlight catches droplets on the columns. Beyond the courtyard wall, the city continues its day. You hear cartwheels, distant voices, and the clatter of metal from a workshop. Inside the baths, time seems measured by warmth, water, and conversation rather than bells. A group of women starts a light ball game in the centre of the yard. They stand several paces apart and toss a small leather ball from one to another. The rules appear simple until someone misses a catch, at which point 3 different explanations are offered. One woman insists the ball must be thrown underhand. Another says overhand is allowed. A third claims there are no rules at all. The attendant who supplied the ball looks away. He has wisely chosen not to govern sport. The 2 sisters join the game, still wearing one sandal each. Their servant has finally found a second pair somewhere, though the sandals do not match. One is dark leather with a thick sole. The other is lighter and slightly too large. The sisters seem delighted by this arrangement. You watch them pass the ball back and forth. Their pinned hair trembles with each movement. One catches neatly, the other reaches too late, and the ball rolls toward the colonnade, striking the foot of the wealthy matron. The courtyard becomes still. The matron looks down at the ball. One sister apologizes. The other sister apologizes more elaborately. The servant prepares to apologize for everyone. Then the matron bends, picks up the ball, and throws it back with surprising accuracy. The sisters stare. The matron adjusts her cloth and continues walking as though nothing unusual has occurred. Her attendants exchange tiny smiles behind her. Some swear that respectable women avoid games entirely. Others say that exercise, walking, swimming, and ball play are common among those with access to baths, gardens, and courtyards. No one can quite agree how often women participate because moral writers prefer describing how people should behave rather than what they actually do. In the sunlight, actual behavior appears less obedient. Another group stretches beside a bench. A woman raises both arms overhead while an attendant presses gently between her shoulder blades. Another leans forward to touch her knees. A third lifts small hand weights made of stone. The weights are not large, but after several repetitions, her face tightens. Her friend asks whether she is tired. "Not at all," she says, lowering them immediately. You try a pair. The stone handles are rough and warm from the sun. You lift them slowly, arms bending at the elbows. At first, they feel light, then less light, then surprisingly committed to remaining close to the ground. A nearby servant suggests breathing steadily. You attempt this while preserving dignity. It is a difficult combination. Physical care carries its own beliefs and remedies. Some women rub oil into the limbs before exercise, convinced it protects the joints. Others wear small amulets against strains or sudden weakness. One visitor ties red wool around her wrist, explaining that the color keeps harmful influences from entering through the pulse. Even now it is hard to tell whether the thread protects her arm or simply prevents her from forgetting which wrist hurts. Along the covered walk, an elderly woman moves with a staff. Each step is slow and deliberate. Her granddaughter stays beside her, matching the pace. They complete one circuit to the courtyard, rest, then begin another. Movement is not always about beauty or strength. It is also about preserving independence. A steady walk means reaching the market, visiting a neighbor, supervising a household, climbing stairs, and entering the baths without being carried. The merchant's wife finishes her circuit and stops beneath a column. Her cheeks are warm from exertion. The cloth seller fans herself with one hand. "We have walked enough," the merchant's wife declares. They have completed perhaps half the courtyard. Her servant says nothing. You return the stone weights and continue toward a low bench near the wall. Sunlight rests upon it, and you sit enjoying the mild warmth against your back. The ball game continues with more enthusiasm than skill. Laughter moves across the yard whenever the ball escapes. A woman begins skipping lightly in place, lifting her knees. Another copies her. A third joins, then stops after several breaths, and announces that such movement is probably unnecessary for women of good judgment. An attendant offers water from a clay cup. The drink is cool and faintly mineral. You sip slowly while the open air dries the last steam from your skin. Your heartbeat settles. The furnace heat no longer weighs upon your chest. Beyond the doorway, the warmer chambers wait. Women begin gathering towels and oil again. The older visitor finishes her ankle circles. The sisters retrieve the ball. The matron completes another dignified circuit beneath the columns. You stand and stretch once more, feeling the pleasant pull along your shoulders. Then you follow the others back toward the shaded doorway, carrying the sunlight and cooler air with you as the baths draw you inward again. The shaded doorway receives you again, and the cooler air of the courtyard gives way to the softer warmth of the inner passage. Your skin still carries the sun, but the smell changes almost at once. Olive oil and damp stone remain joined now by roasted nuts, warm bread, spiced wine, and something frying in a shallow pan. The bathhouse has its own small marketplace. Vendors occupy alcoves along a broad corridor between the exercise yard and the bathing rooms. Some sit behind low tables, others carry trays suspended from straps around the neck. Their goods are arranged in bowls, baskets, jars and folded cloths, each display made to tempt people who have spent the morning sweating, walking, talking, and discovering that relaxation produces an impressive appetite. The merchant's wife slows first. Her servant does not look surprised. On the nearest table lie flat rounds of coarse bread, wedges of cheese, dried figs, dates, olives, and small cakes glazed with honey. A clay bowl holds chickpeas seasoned with salt and herbs. Beside it, a vendor turns sausages in a pan while steam rises into the corridor. You stop near the bread. The vendor tears one loaf in half to show the warm interior. He describes it as fresh light, nourishing and suitable for delicate stomachs. The loaf looks dense enough to reinforce a doorway, but it smells good, and hunger has always been a skilled negotiator. You give him a coin. He gives you the smaller half. Commerce remains undefeated. You carry the bread toward a stone ledge and sit. The crust is firm, the center warm and slightly sour. A little olive paste has been spread across the top. After the heat and exercise, even this simple food tastes rich. Around you, women purchase snacks in small groups. The sisters with mismatched sandals share a thin cake folded around soft cheese and honey. One sister takes a larger bite, the other notices immediately. Their servant watches the dispute begin, divides what remains into two nearly equal pieces, and keeps the smallest corner for herself when neither is looking. The older woman, with the aching knee, chooses dried figs and watered wine. Her companion insists she should eat something more substantial. "I have eaten 4 figs," the older woman says. "Figs are not a meal." They are if one stops arguing long enough. Her companion buys bread anyway. Bathhouse vendors sell more than food. A nearby stall offers small flasks of oil, perfumed or plain, arranged beside wooden combs, bone pins, pumice stones, linen cloths, cheap bronze mirrors, and replacement sandal straps. The selection suggests that visitors regularly arrive without something important, lose it, break it, or decide that the version at home has suddenly become unacceptable. The sisters pause at the sandal straps. Their servant points meaningfully at their mismatched feet. They pretend not to see her. Another seller displays amulets on cords, tiny carved hands, crescent shapes, beads of colored glass, bits of coral, and little metal figures blackened by handling. Some are said to protect against fever, others guard against envy, nightmares, difficult childbirth, or thieves in changing rooms. No one can quite agree whether a charm purchased beside a sausage pan carries the same power as one blessed at a temple. The vendor insists it does. He also insists that buying too improves the effect. A woman in a pale wrap purchases a small coral pendant for her daughter. She rubs it between finger and thumb before tying it onto a red cord. Coral is believed by some to protect children and women from harmful glances or unseen forces. Others wear it because the color is beautiful. Even now it is hard to tell where fashion ends and protection begins. Farther along, a healer has arranged packets of dried herbs beside cups of steaming infusion. The smell is bitter green and medicinal. He offers remedies for headaches, weak digestion, sore joints, troubled sleep, poor complexion, and a condition he describes only as heaviness of the spirit. The merchant's wife asks what helps after spending too long in the hottest room. The healer recommends mint fennel and moderation. She purchases the herbs and ignores the moderation. You sip a cup of diluted wine from another stall. It is warm, lightly spiced and sweeter than expected. The vendor has added honey and perhaps cinnamon, though he claims the precise recipe came from a physician in the East. Some swear that warm wine restores balance after bathing, others say cold water is better. A third group avoids drinking immediately after strong heat, fearing the body may be startled by the change. Those who tell the tale never fully agree, but everyone seems willing to sell a drink while the argument continues. An attendant passes carrying a tray of boiled eggs dusted with pepper. Behind her comes a boy with a basket of oysters packed in damp straw. The smell follows him with determination. Several women turn their heads. One buys two. Another warns that shellfish taken at the wrong moon can disturb the stomach. The oyster seller says the moon was excellent. He says this every day. You continue along the corridor with the remaining bread in hand. Small services appear between the food stalls. A woman repairs torn hems and loose straps. A barber trims hair and nails in a screened alcove. An oil seller mixes scents to order grinding herbs in a stone mortar, while customers choose rosé iris myrrh or something called spring garden, though it smells mostly of pine. Near the end of the passage, a fortune-teller sits behind a low table marked with painted stars. She offers quick readings from dice lots and little inscribed tablets. A young visitor asks whether a man she admires will notice her. The fortune-teller casts 3 small bones. He already has, she says. The young woman smiles. He is also unreliable. The smile fades. The fortune-teller accepts payment for both pieces of information. You pause beside a basket of stamped tokens showing dolphins' fountains and protective symbols. They are inexpensive, easy to carry, and probably destined to sit in household boxes until no one remembers where they came from. The merchant's servant buys nothing for herself, though she glances at a tiny wooden comb. The merchant's wife notices, hesitates, then tells the vendor to add it to the purchase. The servant lowers her eyes and thanks her. It is a small gesture, nearly lost in the corridor's noise, but the servant touches the comb once before placing it carefully inside her tunic. The food stalls grow busier as more bathers emerge from the courtyard. Coins click, vendors call, oil glistens in jars, honey sticks to fingers. Warm bread disappears almost as quickly as it arrives. From beyond the outer arch comes a faint bark. The dog is still waiting. One of the sisters breaks off a piece of cake and carries it towards the entrance. Her servant calls after her, reminding her that the rules do not permit animals inside. I am not bringing him in, the sister says. I am only improving his opinion of us. You finish the last of your bread and brush crumbs from your cloth. The warmth of the wine settles into your chest. Around you, the baths feel less like a single building than a small city under one roof with its own food trade remedies, temptations, rumors, and prices. Ahead, the corridor narrows toward a quieter chamber where lamps burn before small, sacred images and the smell of herbs grows stronger. You leave the vendors behind and follow that softer scent onward, carrying honey on your fingertips and the pleasant heaviness of a meal eaten between steam and stone. The corridor narrows as you leave the food stalls behind, and the lively calls of vendors soften into a distant murmur. Here the lamps burn lower, their flames shine against small bronze figures set within wall niches, and the air carries the mixed scents of warm oil, dried herbs, lamp smoke, and mineral water. You slow your steps. A shallow basin stands beneath an image of a healing god. Coins glimmer at the bottom among flower petals, pins, beads, and tiny pieces of pottery. Some offerings are valuable. Most are ordinary things left by ordinary people who have asked for relief from pain, fever, weakness, difficult sleep, or a body that no longer behaves as reliably as it once did. The older woman with the aching knee approaches the basin. Her companion gives her a small bronze coin. She holds it for a moment, closes her eyes, and drops it into the water. The sound is almost too soft to hear. "What did you ask for?" her companion whispers. A quieter companion. Her companion sighs. The older woman smiles and touches the edge of the basin. Bathing and healing sit close together in the Roman world. Warm water eases stiff limbs. Steam loosens breathing. Massage softens tired muscles. Exercise strengthens the body, or at least reminds it that movement remains possible. Yet water alone rarely seems enough. Prayers, charms, herbs, dreams, sacred images, and whispered formulas gather around every treatment. When medicine is uncertain, hope becomes very thorough. An attendant tends a small altar near the wall. She trims the wick of a lamp and removes wilted flowers from a shallow dish. Beside the flame lies a collection of clay models shaped like hands, feet, eyes, ears, and other parts of the body. A visitor may dedicate such an object after recovering from illness or while asking for healing. A clay foot requests help for a damaged foot. A tiny eye asks protection for sight. The meaning is practical, direct, and slightly unsettling when several dozen body parts are arranged together on one shelf. It looks like a physician's waiting room designed by a potter with a dark sense of humor. You notice a small clay knee beside the lamp. The older woman notices it too. She turns toward her companion. "No, you have not heard what I was going to say. You were going to suggest buying one." Her companion closes her mouth. Some visitors pray openly, others only touch a sacred image while passing. A woman in a blue wrap presses her fingers against a bronze figure, then touches her forehead and chest. Her servant waits with a packet of herbs and a folded towel. No one can quite agree whether the baths themselves possess healing power or whether the gods simply listen more closely near flowing water. Springs, wells, fountains, and rivers often carry sacred meaning. Water emerges mysteriously from the earth, changes temperature, leaves mineral stains, and sometimes eases pain. It is not difficult to imagine unseen hands guiding it. Some baths are built near natural springs, famous for particular cures. One may be praised for skin complaints, another for aching joints, another for fertility. Travelers arrive from distant towns carrying offerings, letters of recommendation, and symptoms described in exhausting detail. A man selling cures near the entrance probably claims every spring helps digestion. Digestion is the safest promise because nearly everyone believes theirs could be improved. You move farther into the chamber. A healer sits beside a low table covered with jars, bundles, spoons, and folded strips of linen. Unlike the loud vendor in the food corridor, this man speaks quietly. His hair is grey, his hands clean, and his expression solemn enough to make even vinegar appear respectable. A young woman sits before him with her wrist extended. He places 2 fingers over her pulse, watches her face, and asks about sleep, appetite, headaches, monthly bleeding, dreams, and whether she has recently been frightened by dogs. The dog waiting outside would object to this line of inquiry. The healer believes the body depends upon balance. Heat, cold, moisture, dryness, food, exercise, rest, and temperament all matter. Too much bathing may weaken one person. Too little may burden another. Warm rooms may help stiffness but worsen faintness. Cold water may strengthen the robust and terrify everyone else. Advice changes with age, season, constitution, and the healer giving it. The young woman receives a packet of dried mint and fennel. She is told to steep it in warm water, avoid heavy meals, and leave the hottest chamber earlier than usual. She accepts the herbs. The instruction about leaving early appears less welcome. Near another wall, women tie narrow strips of cloth around a lattice. Each strip bears a knot, a stain of oil, or a few scratched marks. Some represent prayers. Others may commemorate cures. A few may simply have been left because someone needed both hands and forgot them. Those who tell the tale never fully agree. You watch a mother fasten a red thread around her daughter's wrist. The girl has been pale after the heated room. The mother mutters a protective phrase, knots the thread 3 times, and warns her not to remove it until it falls away by itself. Red thread is used against envy and harmful influence. Knots may hold protection in place. Certain words are repeated in sets of 3 or 7. Amulets shaped like hands, eyes, moons, or animals guard the wearer from forces that cannot be seen and therefore cannot be argued with directly. A practical person may laugh at charms in daylight and still keep one beneath the pillow after dark. You pass a seated woman holding a small carved stone against her abdomen. Her companion rubs scented oil along her lower back. They speak softly about fertility, missed months, and a pilgrimage to a shrine outside the city. Some women come to the baths hoping warm water will prepare the body for conception. Others avoid certain pools during pregnancy. Herbs are recommended, forbidden, exchanged, and whispered about. A charm may be worn at the waist. A prayer may be offered to a goddess associated with childbirth or motherhood. Even now, it is hard to tell whether a successful birth is credited to the physician, the midwife, the bath, the amulet, the goddess, or the woman who endured all of them. Probably the woman receives the least credit. A sharp herbal smell draws you toward a brazier where leaves are being warmed in a shallow dish. The attendant says the vapor clears the head and chest. You lean closer and breathe carefully. The scent reaches your nose with remarkable determination. Your eyes water. The attendant nods as if this proves the treatment has found the illness. Nearby, a masseuse presses oil mixed with crushed rosemary into a woman's hands. Another visitor places a cool cloth over her eyes. Someone drinks diluted wine with honey. Someone else swallows a bitter powder and immediately regrets having trusted the person who sold it. Healing in the baths is rarely one single act. It is warmth, rest touch scent, belief conversation, and the reassuring presence of other people who also wake with stiff joints, uneasy stomachs, tired eyes, and worries they cannot name. You approach the basin beneath the sacred image. A few crumbs from your bread still cling to your fingertips. You rinse them away, then hold a small coin over the water. You are not certain what to request. Health feels too broad. Wisdom feels unlikely. Dry sandals would be useful, but perhaps beneath divine attention. At last, you ask only for a safe return through the evening streets. The coin slips from your fingers and settles among the petals. Behind you, the older woman rises from the bench. Her knee still aches, but she stands a little more easily after warmth, oil movement, food prayer, and several hours of refusing to admit discomfort. The lamps remain steady as you follow her toward the next chamber, carrying no certainty of a cure, only the quiet sense that comfort itself may sometimes be a kind of medicine. The quiet sense of comfort follows you from the healing chamber, but it does not survive unchanged once you step back into the broader hall. Here the lamps burn brighter. The benches are crowded, and the women's voices carry easily beneath the curved ceiling. Towels are being folded, hair is being pinned, oil shines on freshly cleaned skin. Yet beneath these ordinary motions moves something less visible, the constant awareness of who is watching, who is being watched, and what may be said later. A public bath is a place of cleansing, but reputation is rarely washed so simply. You pause near a pillar, while the merchant's wife speaks with the wealthy matron. Their words are polite, their smiles are measured. Neither woman says anything openly unkind, but every compliment contains enough careful weight to be examined later. You are looking very well, the merchant's wife says. You are kind to notice, the matron replies. A harmless exchange, perhaps. Or perhaps one woman implies that the other did not look well before. No one can quite agree whether compliments become more dangerous in bathhouses because clothing no longer distracts from them. Respectability depends upon many things: family wealth, behavior, companions, time of arrival, time of departure, and the stories already attached to one's name. A woman may do nothing unusual and still become unusual in someone else's telling. The hour matters. Some baths reserve different times for women and men. Others provide separate spaces. In certain places, customs are less strict and mixed. Bathing occurs despite the objections of moralists, lawmakers, husbands, philosophers, and anyone else who enjoys writing stern opinions about other people's afternoons. The rules change from city to city and from one generation to another. A practice considered ordinary in one district may be treated as scandalous in another. Some swear that respectable women never share facilities with men. Others insist mixed bathing is common enough that repeated bans are required. A rule repeated often usually reveals how poorly it is being obeyed. Today the women's hours are clearly marked. An attendant near the doorway checks the passage and reminds visitors that the later session will soon begin. Her warning causes several women to gather their jars and cloths, though no one moves quickly. The wealthy matron asks how much time remains. Enough, the attendant says. For what? The attendant wisely does not answer. You sit near the two sisters, while their servant adjusts the last pins in their hair. The mismatched sandals rest beneath the bench. One sister glances toward a woman entering alone from the corridor. The newcomer wears no jewellery. Her towel is plain and she carries her own oil flask. Nothing about her appearance
seems remarkable, yet conversation nearby softens. Is that her? One sister whispers, the other nods. You do not know who her is, but the room appears to know several versions.
Perhaps she is the widow mentioned beneath the painted ceiling. Perhaps she is another woman entirely. Rumour does not require reliable identification, it only requires confidence. She crosses the room calmly and sits beside an older attendant. She unwraps a wooden comb and begins working it through her damp hair. She does not look toward the whispering women. Her composure becomes evidence of pride. Had she looked nervous, that would have become evidence of guilt. Reputation is wonderfully efficient in this way. A respectable woman is expected to appear modest without seeming ashamed, sociable without being loud, attractive without appearing to seek attention, and confident without inviting envy. These expectations shift depending upon who is judging, which ensures that success remains conveniently difficult. The merchant's wife lowers her voice as the newcomer passes. The cloth seller says something you cannot hear. The merchant's wife raises one eyebrow. That eyebrow will probably reach 3 neighborhoods before sunset. Modesty within the baths is not simply a matter of covering the body. It appears in gestures, posture, attendance, and timing. Wealthier women may use screens or private corners. Others wrap linen around themselves when moving between chambers. Some bathe openly without concern following custom rather than embarrassment. Even now it is hard to tell whether later writers describe actual behavior or the behavior they wished to enforce. Moralists often blame baths for luxury, idleness, vanity, or temptation. They complain of perfumes, massages, expensive oils, loud conversation, mixed company, and long visits. Their descriptions make the bathhouse sound less like a civic building and more like a conspiracy, conducted with towels. Yet most women around you are doing ordinary things. They wash, they exercise, they treat aching joints, they meet relatives, they purchase bread, they hear news. They spend a few warm hours away from cold houses, smoky kitchens demanding children account tablets. Looms, servants, customers, and husbands who cannot find objects placed directly in front of them. Ordinary life rarely satisfies a moralist searching for decline. Near the doorway, a young married woman speaks with a male attendant responsible for the furnace schedule. The conversation concerns water temperature. You can hear this clearly. A woman on the next bench watches them. By tomorrow, perhaps the conversation will concern something else. The young woman thanks the attendant and returns to her mother, unaware that a story may already be forming behind her. Her mother sees the watching woman and immediately calls for a servant to stand closer, not because anything improper has happened, because nothing must be allowed to look as though it might have happened. Protective charms guard against envy, but social precautions require living people. Mothers, sisters, servants, and companions act as witnesses. Arriving alone attracts notice. Leaving with the wrong person attracts more. A servant who waits nearby is not only carrying towels, she is also carrying proof of proper conduct. The older woman with the aching knee sits beside you again. She follows your gaze toward the whispering benches. Reputation, she murmurs, is a cloak other people sew while you are wearing it. Her companion says that a good woman should ignore gossip. The older woman asks whether she has ever managed this herself. The companion becomes interested in folding a towel. Some women attempt to defend their names through generosity, religious devotion, careful dress, and respectable friendships. Others rely upon family influence. Wealth does not prevent rumor, but it may give a person more servants to deny it. Poorer women possess fewer protections. A market seller who visits at an unusual hour may be judged more harshly than a matron who reserves a private room. A servant cannot easily object when others discuss her. An enslaved woman's reputation belongs partly to the household that controls her, yet blame may still fall entirely upon her. The baths bring classes close together, but judgment does not become equal merely because everyone steps into the same water. A bell sounds from the entrance hall. The women's session is nearing its end. Attendants begin reminding visitors to return to the changing room. The merchant's wife gathers her rose oil. The matron calls for her screen. The sisters retrieve their mismatched sandals. The woman who entered alone finishes combing her hair. As she rises, the older attendant beside her takes her arm with quiet familiarity. They leave together. The whispering women watch them go, disappointed, perhaps that nothing more dramatic has occurred. You stand and wrap linen more closely around your shoulders. Around you, women prepare to depart, carrying clean skin, arranged hair, damp cloths, small purchases, and stories about everyone else. The baths may cleanse the dust of the city from the body. They cannot cleanse the city's curiosity. The bell continues trembling through the hall as you join the slow current of women returning toward the changing room. No one hurries, though everyone behaves as if she intends to leave immediately. Towels are gathered, jars recorked, combs, wrapped sandals found, and conversations extended by one final sentence that becomes 3. The warm chambers release their visitors reluctantly, sending them through cooler passages with damp hair, softened limbs, and the faint reluctance of people stepping out of comfort into responsibility. You pass the small sacred basin once more. The coin you dropped earlier has vanished beneath the petals, indistinguishable now from all the other requests resting in the water. A lamp flame bends as the door opens, then steadies beside the clay hands, eyes, knees, and feet. The older woman with the aching joint touches 2 fingers to the healing image as she passes. Her companion notices. "I thought you did not believe in that." "I do not," the older woman says. "Then why touch it?" It is rude to ignore someone who may be helping. This seems to settle the matter. The corridor of vendors is quieter than before. Bread baskets are nearly empty. Honey has dried in shining streaks across wooden trays. The healer is packing herbs into a cloth sack, while the fortune teller continues working for a final customer who appears determined to receive a more favorable future than the one first offered. Near the entrance, the dog finishes the last crumb of cake given by one of the sisters. He licks the stone checks beneath his paws and looks toward the doorway with the hopeful patience of someone who believes generosity should naturally continue. An attendant points outside. The dog takes one dignified step backward and remains exactly where he is. You enter the changing room with the others. The air feels cooler now, and your damp skin tightens beneath the linen wrap. Lamps burn lower in their niches. Shadows stretch behind the benches where piles of clothing wait in colors of brown, blue-red, faded green, and smoke-dark gray. The room fills quickly with confusion. Women search for cloaks, undergarments, jewelry, combs, purses, sandals, towels, and servants who were standing nearby only a moment ago. Names are called, niches are checked twice. Folded garments are lifted, inspected, rejected, and returned with varying degrees of care. You reach the place where you left your belongings. Your cloak remains folded against the wall. Your tunic lies beneath it. The belt is there. The boots are there. The cloth containing your coins is also there, though for a moment you cannot find it and experience the deep spiritual awakening produced by believing one has been robbed. Then you discover it beneath the belt buckle. Relief is immediate. Wisdom is not. Across from you, the merchant's wife supervises the return of her jewelry. Her servant lays each piece upon the linen cloth, 2 bracelets, 1 ring, 2 earrings. They count them aloud. The merchant's wife frowns. There should be another ring, the servant reminds her that she wore only 1. The merchant's wife says she is certain there were 2. The servant says the 2nd ring was left at home. A silence follows. Then the merchant's wife announces that she remembers this perfectly and was merely testing the servant's attention. The servant lowers her head to conceal an expression that may require its own protective amulet. You pull the tunic over your still warm skin. The linen catches briefly at the shoulders. It feels cooler than expected, then gradually settles. Dressing after bathing is slower than undressing. Damp hair clings to the neck. Oiled skin resists cloth. Pins slip from fingers. Sandals appear to have changed size. The sisters sit side by side, examining the collection at their feet. Their original pair of sandals has somehow been reunited. The mismatched pair rests beside it. No one knows where the extra sandals came from. Some swear that bathhouse spirits exchange shoes when bored. Others blame inattentive servants, careless visitors, or the practical fact that many sandals look identical after several hours beneath a bench. Even now it is hard to tell whether the sisters have recovered their own pair or merely a pair they both agree to recognize. You lace your boots and feel the stiff leather close around your feet. Mud from the morning has dried along the soles. The sight of it brings back the cold street, the river mist, the broken cartwheel, and the lodging where the half-burned candle leaned beside the wall. The day outside has moved onward while you remained among warm pools. A servant helps the wealthy matron into her fur-lined cloak. The heavy garment settles over her shoulders, hiding the careful oils, massage powders, and treatments beneath an appearance of effortless dignity. Her silver hairpins catch the lamplight. She leaves with attendants before and behind her. Space opens automatically. The woman who arrived alone dresses nearby. She ties her plain cloak without haste and places the wooden comb inside a small pouch. No one whispers now, at least not loudly. The older attendant waits beside her, holding the door. Together they step into the entrance hall. Reputation follows, but so does companionship. You fasten your cloak and pull it close. The wool is still faintly damp near the hem, yet it feels comforting after the open warmth of the baths. Your iron buckle clicks into place. Near the exit, attendants return. Baskets collect rented strigils and settle final disputes. One woman insists her towel has been exchanged. Another claims a jar of oil is lighter than before. A third cannot find a bronze pin that is later discovered inside her sleeve. The attendant who guarded the clothing listens to every complaint with the calm of a stone saint enduring weather. Outside, daylight has begun to thin. You step beneath the entrance arch and into the evening street. Cold air touches your face sharper now against freshly warmed skin. You draw the cloak higher and remember the warnings about sudden chill. A woman beside you covers her head immediately. Another ties a wool band around her brow. The merchant's wife instructs her servant to walk faster, though she herself slows to avoid another puddle. The city smells different at dusk. Cooking smoke drifts from doorways, fish onions, bread and burning wood mingle above the lane. Market stalls are closing. Merchants count coins beneath awnings. A boy sweeps straw and vegetable leaves toward a gutter. Lamps begin appearing behind shutters. The dog falls into step beside you. Apparently, the cake has established a formal relationship. You walk beneath darkening roofs while the bathhouse remains warm behind its walls. Steam rises faintly above the tiles. Furnace workers will continue tending fire. Attendants will wash tools and fold linen. Later visitors will enter carrying their own baskets, worries, rumors, and expectations. The women around you separate gradually into different streets. The matron turns toward a waiting litter. The merchant's wife heads toward the market quarter. The sisters walk home in matching sandals, carrying the mysterious extra pair in their servant's basket. The older woman pauses at the roadside shrine near the baths. She touches the weathered stone once more, then continues with a step that seems slightly easier than it did in the morning. You follow the street toward the lodging as lamps glow one by one beneath the evening sky. Your hair smells faintly of oil and smoke, your hands feel clean, your limbs carry the pleasant weariness of heat, walking food, and long hours spent listening. Behind you, the bathhouse doors remain open a little longer before the lamps burn low. You continue through the evening streets while the dog trots beside you, occasionally stopping to inspect doorways, drains, and discarded scraps with the seriousness of a magistrate examining evidence. The bathhouse recedes behind the roofs. For a little while, you can still see steam rising above its tiles, pale against the deepening sky. Then a turn in the street hides the building, leaving only the warmth lingering beneath your cloak and the clean scent of olive oil upon your hands. The city around you settles into its colder rhythm. Shopkeepers pull wooden shutters across their stalls, iron keys turn inside locks. A fish seller rinses his table, sending cloudy water along the gutter. Smoke gathers beneath the eaves as evening meals simmer over household fires. Somewhere nearby, a pot of lentils bubbles with garlic, herbs, and the last vegetables from a winter storehouse. You pass the broken cart from the morning. Its wheel has finally been removed, and the driver sits beside it eating coarse bread from a cloth. A carpenter kneels near the axle examining the damage by lamplight. No one appears pleased, though the mule has found a pile of hay and seems to consider the day a success. The dog greets the mule. The mule does not return the courtesy. Your boots find the damp spaces between paving stones, but the mud no longer feels quite as miserable as it did before dawn. Perhaps warm water improves the spirit. Perhaps the watered wine has simply made the street seem more reasonable. No one can quite agree whether frequent bathing strengthens the body or weakens it. Some physicians recommend regular visits, others warn against excessive heat, long soaking cold draughts, or entering the water after a heavy meal. Moralists complain about luxury, while ordinary citizens continue bathing whenever time, money, custom, and fuel allow. The truth lies somewhere among warm floors, tired furnace workers, olive oil shed news, and the practical human desire not to smell like a crowded street. You think of the women who entered beneath the arch that morning. The merchant's wife arrived with polished bronze, rose-scented oil jewelry, and a servant who remembered everything she forgot. The sisters brought one pair of sandals and somehow left with two. The wealthy matron carried rank through every chamber like an invisible train of fabric. The solitary woman endured whispers without lowering her head. The older visitor brought an aching knee, sharp humour, a companion who worried too loudly, and a small coin for the healing basin. Each woman used the bathhouse differently. For one, it was cleanliness, for another, relief from pain, for another, business conducted between warm benches, for another, a few hours of friendship away from household walls. For the servants, it was labour lifting baskets, washing linen, scraping skin, dressing hair, tending fires, guarding jewellery, and receiving blame whenever an object hid beneath its owner's sleeve. The baths reveal the city not as marble statues and grand speeches, but as bodies requiring care. People sweat, hair tangles, knees ache, skin gathers dust. Hunger arrives, sandals break, rumours spread. The wealthy pay for softer towels, finer oils, and more privacy, yet even they must step carefully over wet floors and trust someone else to remember where the ring was placed. Status survives inside the baths, but it becomes strangely fragile. Without the cloak, the litter, the doorway, and the household crowd rank must announce itself through posture, servant's perfume, and confidence. A baker's wife may sit within arm's reach of a noble matron. A market seller may hear information worth more than the bath fee. An enslaved hairdresser may know the secrets of women who never ask what secrets she carries herself. The public bath is never completely equal. Still, it brings lives close enough to touch. You pass the roadside shrine where the lamp still burns beneath the weathered figure. The dried figs left there in the morning are gone. Perhaps a priest collected them. Perhaps a hungry child did. Perhaps the dog knows more than he is willing to reveal. A fresh red thread has been tied around the stone. Some swear that knots hold prayers in place until the wish is granted. Others say the thread must fall away naturally or the protection breaks. Even now it is hard to tell whether such customs survive because they work or because hope feels safer when the hands have something to tie. You touch the edge of the shrine as you pass. The gesture is small and almost thoughtless. Yet the whole day has been made of such gestures, a coin dropped into water oil warmed between palms, a hand supporting an older elbow, a servant given a wooden comb, a piece of cake offered to a waiting dog. Perhaps this is what the baths truly mean. They are not merely great rooms filled with water. They are places where health, beauty, reputation, trade, religion, labour, and companionship meet beneath one roof. They allow women to care for the body while exchanging the knowledge that helps households survive. Which seller cheats? Which healer listens? Which servant seeks work? Which marriage is unwise? Which herb eases pain? Which official promises much and repairs little? The water cleans the skin. The gathering helps people endure the city. You reach the lodging as the last daylight fades from the rooftops. The courtyard is quieter now. Horse breath drifts white in the cold air. A lantern hangs near the stable door. The half-burned candle still waits in your room, though someone has trimmed its wick. You climb the narrow stairs. The dog follows. At the door you tell him that he cannot come inside. He looks at the cold courtyard. Then he looks at you. A moment later he is curled beside the hearth. Some rules like bathhouse schedules and instructions to dogs exist, mainly to be repeated. You lower yourself onto the bed and pull the wool blanket over your legs. Damp straw rustles beneath you. Smoke rests softly among the rafters. Outside footsteps fade along the lane and a final cart passes with a slow wooden creak. The day begins to loosen its hold. The bathhouse is far behind you now, its painted ceilings darkening, its pools becoming still, its last lamps reflected in quiet water. Attendants rinse the bronze tools, wet linen hangs in shadowed rooms, furnace fires sink slowly into red ash beneath the floors. The merchant's rose oil is corked inside its basket. The sister's mysterious sandals wait beside a household door. The older woman rests her knee near a small brazier. The sacred basin holds its coins beneath floating petals. And you lie warm beneath the rough blanket, breathing slowly as the candle flame grows smaller. The city beyond the shutters becomes softer. One distant bell sounds, then another. The notes drift over roofs, courtyards, fountains, and empty market stalls, reaching the bathhouse, where water rests beneath darkness, reaching the shrine where the red thread moves gently in the night air, reaching the road where mist begins gathering again. Your hands are warm, your breathing is easy. Nothing more is required of you. The stones will cool. The fires will settle, the last voices will disappear into sleep, and the ancient city will remain quietly around you, dim, human, imperfect, and safe for one more night. Let the candle fade. Let the streets grow still. Let the warm water of the day pass gently from memory as you sink deeper beneath the wool, listening to the dog breathe beside the hearth and the winter wind move softly beyond the door.